Good afternoon. And for this October 21st, 2021, appreciate all of you who are here this afternoon, those in person as well as those who are appearing in virtually. Before we begin, I just have an announcement to make. So the city of Fort Lauderdale is hosting its commission meetings in both a virtual and in-person format. For additional information on how to view or sign up to speak at a meeting, please visit our website at www.fortlauderdale.gov/city commission meetings, plural. I will repeat that, www.fortlauderdale.gov/city commission meetings, plural. Now, to help ensure decorum, which we practice here every day, we ask that you please abide by the following guidelines. Number one, please refrain from any behavior that is disruptive, distractive, profane, or inhibits the meeting in any way. Got that? Number two, while you're on the phone waiting for your opportunity to speak, please mute the meeting broadcast on FLTV, YouTube, Comcast, AT&T, whichever one you're watching on. To avoid delays with the broadcast, I will call upon you when it is your time to speak, and I will also notify you when your time has expired. City staff has automatically added speakers into the listen-only mode, and you will be unmuted to speak when recognized. Finally, when you have completed your speaking, you will be muted and may either hang up to exit the meeting or stay connected to listen to the remainder of the meeting. So thank you so much for your patience while I read that. And so let us begin our meeting. Now we start with our communications, and we have a couple of communications. First from the Planning and Zoning Board. Let's see, a motion made by Mr. Schechtman, seconded by Ms. Fertig, to request the City Commission to ask staff to review existing parks within the Downtown Regional Activity Center which are not currently designated as parks to determine why they are not and if they should be. That was passed 8-0. So we have unanimity again on planning and zoning. I'm so happy to see that our community.
Mayor, you started a trend. Thank you.
I started a trend. Yes.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Any thoughts on this? Anyone from the commission have any thoughts on this? There's no one from city. I was going to say you don't look like Chris. Charlie, should you have any thoughts on this? Have you participated in any discussion regarding this? Okay. But Phil, would you want to respond to this? Because I think in a conversation that we had, you talked about some logistical challenges that we might confront should this undertaking be considered. Phil? Is your microphone on?
Hello.
Yes.
Better.
So, good afternoon again.
You in an a cappella group?
So we are working with DSD after this was brought to our attention. There are some parks not only in the downtown but in other areas of the city that are zone park. So we are starting to put a list together and starting to work with the DSD division, which would help us to do that. So there is a process involved and a fee involved in getting that done. So we will start to group them together and bring them forward, and probably on a priority basis. There's not a lot of them out there, but there are some that probably need to be rezoned park.
I would imagine some of this motivation came from that situation where the castle is, where everyone thought that was city parkland.
Yeah, I think it's part that, Mayor, and then part some of the greenways, we'll call them, that were not formally designated parks for various reasons. So, yeah, I think you're right.
So that too. Okay.
Yeah, so on that, Mayor, though, we'll need to check with City Attorney's Office because I don't know that right-of-ways or greenways and street ends would be designated park because those are right-of-ways. So we're looking more at park properties that we would consider a park area and not a right-of-way or a street end. So we'll have to kind of, again, defer to the city attorney, because I know it's come up for the Greenway in the southwest area, and whether that's possible and how that can happen. So we just want to be careful. I don't know if the city attorney wants to.
Okay.
You know.
Mr. Fajardo, did you want to add to this conversation?
The only thing, Mr. Mayor, Anthony Fajardo, Jay Scheckman is on Zoom, and so he is on the Planning and Zoning Board. He may be able to add some context to this from their perspective.
Okay. Yes, we have a few people who signed up to speak. So, Mr. Scheckman, are you there?
Hey, yes. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear. So tell us.
Awesome. Yeah. So it's pretty straightforward. This one, being on Planning and Zoning Board, I have the luxury of looking at our downtown zoning districts, and it just came to my attention while looking at that Hardy Park is, zoned RAC CC, and I think we would all agree that Hardy Park is one of our most coveted in the city. It's it's huge. It's got so many amenities, and it just seems to make sense that anything that is already a park and everybody has the intention of keeping it as such should be designated to protect it in the future, but also to make park space more easily identifiable on our city maps and resources for the purpose of calculating open space and many other logistical reasons.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Jay. Ms. Monica Caparel, is she on the line? Ms. Les Ms.
Is the zoning,
Caparel, is she on the line? Caparelli? No. Oh, you're in person. Are you here? I guess not. Okay. And then virtually Joanne Smith. Joanne, are you with us? Joanne Smith. Okay, I guess that's it. Does anyone have any questions of Mr. Scheckman or anything else to add?
Mayor, could I ask maybe Anthony Fajardo a question, or
Sure.
Chris, or yeah? Anthony, this may be a pretty simple question. Do we have what do you think is the appropriate zoning for parks? Is it actually called
Yeah,
parks,
we
or-
have a zoning called parks in our community as part of our community facilities zoning.
Yep.
But just to let the commission know, we did change the zoning code probably about 6 years ago to allow parks as a use in every zoning districts.
Okay.
Every zoning district the city has, so we didn't have to go through and rezone everything if we didn't feel the need to. So
Okay.
just to let you know, it is a permitted use in every
Yeah.
district, so it's really not a problem from a use perspective.
What's your feedback around changing the zoning, for example, for Hardy Park to exclusively to parks community use?
I mean, ultimately, it's up to the commission, but I think, Hardy Park is a park. A park is a park is a park. So if we wanted to rezone it, I don't really see a problem with that.
Park
And,
by any other name.
yeah, park by any other name.
Right.
From a zoning perspective, as the former zoning administrator, my preference would be to clean things up and have
Yep.
it be designated the correct thing.
Yeah. And any sense, Anthony, around out of just ballpark, out of all the parks we have, how many are actually zoned park community space versus something else?
That I don't know, but my staff and Phil's staff are working together on getting a list.
Yeah.
So they've already started that process.
Okay. I mean, I know that's a lot of paperwork, Mayor, but I think it makes sense to at least explore this.
Well, we need to, there are a lot of things that we need to start cataloging.
Yeah.
Our historic assets, our park.
Trees,
Yeah.
tree survey.
Yeah, exactly. So this is just part of their continuing efforts to catalog the inventory of what we have in our community so that we can preserve them and anticipate any possible, destruction of them. So, all right, well, thank you.
Thanks.
I would like to add, though, that we will have to look at each one of the parks individually for the appropriateness of rezoning. Because, for instance, Smoker Park, I can't remember the exact issue there, but we had tried to rezone that to park in the past, and there is some sort of restriction on that particular site. So just to let you know, we may have to dig into these as we see them and see what we need to do with them.
Well, I would imagine we would have to come up with a definition, not just the fact that there's a zoning classification, but a definition of what is a park. For example, my front yard is not a park, right? So it has to be publicly owned. It has to be a certain minimal amount of space, I would imagine.
Yeah, we'll only do your swale.
Can't have a park bench as a,
Designated.
And your
Put
6
up a
foot
big
6
fence.
inch fence, and the fence has to come down.
Fence.
Hey,
Wood
Right.
fence.
Exactly.
Just stick it in.
just using it as an example.
Commissioner Gall, could he donate some of his property to become a park? Is that
I think you could.
possible?
Like a in memoriam thing.
Yes,
Like
yes.
Yes.
It'll be on the heritage tour.
Heritage site. Nice.
That's
good.
UNESCO has been knocking on my door.
Is that a motion I just heard? Is that? A question along those lines. Alan, is obviously greenways are not parks by definition. Is there a way to catalog what might be greenways so that we kind of avoid some of what's happened?
Well, we have to look at that issue because there technically isn't such a thing as a greenway in the city of Fort Lauderdale.
Mhm.
So they're rights of ways.
Yep.
Whether we put grass on them or not, it doesn't necessarily make them a greenway, and there's really no process in order to designate them as such.
Right.
So we have to look, like Anthony said, to individually at each area because there are restrictions, primarily because they're right of ways, so they can't be parks to begin with.
Right.
But with
Unless they were
regards-
vacated. I mean, there's a,
but then it wouldn't be a right of way anymore, right?
Exactly.
So, right.
But
So it's-
in other
right.
words, just so that we're kind of aware of what people are referring to as greenways around the city and, and the process, what the limitations of rights are to those greenways and so forth.
Right. What's the question?
Yeah, so the question is, can we catalog the greenways or that are perceived as greenways?
I mean, we can. I mean, there's some that are more pronounced than others. Anne Murray is one.
Yep.
There are others that may de facto be a right of way that people walk across that cars, but I don't know that we have I guess we can try to catalog those, but I don't know that we can catalog them as greenways because just because you have a right of way that somebody isn't using for vehicular traffic, if it's just used for pedestrian, that doesn't necessarily make it so. So I think it would be hard to catalog. The more formal ones or the more evident ones, possibly.
I think
But
so.
I don't think you'd have an exhaustive list. Though.
Right. No, not expecting an exhaustive list, but I think at least the more prevalent ones would be helpful.
Anthony might be best at.
We can start putting a list together, and then what we'll do is we'll vet it through legal and
Perfect.
see what issues may come up from a legal perspective, and then kind of sort them.
Yeah. Great.
That way.
I have
Great.
one question,
Thanks.
Mayor. I don't know if this is for Jay. Why is this limited just to the downtown area and not the city, Jay, when you all were talking about that inventory of parks?
So I noticed that, Hardy Park to start, and then one of the other board members brought up, none of the parks in downtown are designated as a park with the exception of Peter Feldman Park, which is. So we just extended it to the Downtown Regional Activity Center. But it may be very well applicable to the entire city as well, Commissioner.
Well, I think it is. I think it should be. I mean,
Right.
Yeah,
I think if
absolutely.
we're looking into it, we might want to look into
Okay.
the entire city as well, just to make sure we're on the same page.
Okay.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to the second communication, which is from the Infrastructure Task Force Advisory Committee. Motion was made by Mr. Ladd, seconded by Mr. Partington, that we understand the commission's interest in having us to extend our term, and we would like to confirm specifically how long the term should be. Passed unanimously. I think we've had this discussion in our recent combined meeting, did we not? And I think we had agreed we want to extend it. So is this a moot issue at this point, Anthony? Is this your purview? Is it Alan's? Well, but none of you have to really get up. I just think, didn't the commission already agree?
We did. We didn't set finite terms, if I remember right.
Yeah.
So I think the request is that. Is that?
Yeah,
But
and
Understand.
also, I think we were looking at their enabling legislation and maybe changing some of the language just to figure out what it is we wanted them to do going forward. We talked about it, but I don't think we codified it in any way.
So Tarlisha, could you work with Chris and come up with a proposal as how going forward? I don't think it should sunset every year because then they.
Okay.
It's really difficult.
Correct.
Right.
So if we did like maybe a 3-year sunset or a 5-year sunset,
Okay.
I mean, let's face it, this commission, the Can Do Commission, is really moving very fast forward on a lot of infrastructure projects. And it's great to have public input on a lot of things, feedback, anything that the talent on that commission can, that board can provide to this commission. So if we could either have a termination, a sunset period, or we could just keep it as an ongoing board. It's up to you all, but certainly not to sunset every year because that kind of emasculates them and doesn't really give them much opportunity to really participate in the process. So if you can come back, if your office can come back, I'd appreciate that.
I believe we were also discussing what they would look into next, and I know I remember in particular discussing 5 Ash. I would like just to get their input once we do get that analysis of the 4 proposals, just to have another set of eyes kind of look that over. So that's one of my recommendations I have. Maybe they're just looking for kind of the scope of their board, what they should look into.
Okay,
Okay, Vice Mayor. I have it.
great. I agree. Okay, very good. So let's move on to Business 1. These are recommendations of the Broward County Condominium Structural Issues Committee. Who on the city staff would like to make a report on that? Anthony? Did anyone here participate in any of those virtual meetings?
I did not participate, but I did work with the Galt Mile Association and a representative that they had from the Broward County Board of Rules and Appeals, and we discussed the issue. So I do have some feedback to bring back to you all.
Okay, so do you want to discuss it now?
Sure. Yeah, whenever you're ready. Well, let's hear the presentation, and then I'll give you.
You want to let staff? All right.
Yes, Anthony's going to address it.
Okay, very good. Then there are 2 people.
And the building
signed-
official as
2 people
well.
have signed up to speak also.
So good afternoon again. Anthony Fajardo, Director of Sustainable Development, City of Fort Lauderdale. John Travers, the building official, is also here, so he can answer any questions that are more of a technical nature.
John.
So, which I'm sure there might be. But basically, what I'm going to be presenting is the recommendations from the Broward County Condominium Structural Issues Committee. A little bit of a mouthful. Just to give you a little bit of background, the committee membership was 2 state senators, 2 state representatives, 2 mayors, 2 city commissioners, 2 condominium owners group representatives, various condominium lawyers and attorneys, land use experts, condominium management associations, and the structural engineer. All this can be found in the exhibit that was attached to your commission agenda memo, starting on page 2, I believe. And then this is just a little bit from the introduction that they provided. Basically saying that the committee heard expert testimony from various individuals. They heard public testimony, and that there was a unanimous consensus to encourage better maintenance of condominiums as being a cheaper alternative to long-run maintenance issues. And that they wanted to really try to balance the needs between safety and affordability. So there are 17 recommendations, and the final vote was unanimous. And they're broken up into 5 categories: inspections, condominium reserves, insurance, condominium management, association management rather, and education. So the first thing we're going to talk about is inspections. Sorry about the little glitches in the PowerPoint. So for the inspection side, the biggest change recommended is something that has been talked about, which is moving the time frame up from 40 years to 30 years to trigger the report. So their recommendation is just that, but then keep all the 10-year reports the same. They made a recommendation for buildings that were between 30 and 37 years old would have 36 months to come into compliance, and that'll be more clear once I get to the second recommendation. The second recommendation regards notification requirements and the reporting requirements. So 2 years prior to the inspection year, written notification to condominiums regarding the required inspection should be presented to them by March 31st. That's what the city does once we get the information from the county. So it's similar to what we do. We would just now have a definitive timeline 2 years prior to the inspection year. 1 year prior to the inspection year, the engineer of record should submit the inspection report by March 31st, and it needs to include a timetable for any repairs that were needed based on what the findings were, a funding source, and then a resolution from the condo board binding them to complete the repairs. And then during the inspection year prior to December 31st, they would give that information to the city. We would take a look at it and we make a determination of whether it meets the requirements or didn't meet the requirements. And if for some reason there was any failure to comply, the city would then use its enforcement abilities to address those issues.
So can we stop right there?
Yes.
1 year before the inspection year, preliminary engineering inspection provided by March 31st to include a timetable, funding source, and condo board resolution binding the condo to complete repairs. What happens if you don't get the last thing?
If you don't get the last, I'm sorry, I
Don't
didn't
get
hear
the condo board resolution binding the condo to complete the repairs.
So
Remedy.
the document, I didn't find penalties built into the document. What I think they're referring to is the local municipalities or local government entities that are applicable would use their enforcement abilities. So John can probably talk to this better than I can, but at a certain level, John's responsibility as the building chief would be to determine what those timelines were given the different repairs and how much time they should get for them. Because some repairs will take a lot longer than others, as we've seen in many condo situations, especially if maintenance has been deferred. So John, am I saying anything?
Well, that's assuming that the board makes the decision to fulfill the repair requirement. But what happens if they refuse to acknowledge the repair responsibility?
I believe that if this were to be adopted as recommended, that we would then be able to use whatever enforcement ability we have legally to rectify that situation. We could tell them that we are going to start enforcement activity against them until the board meets to have this resolution. Do you want to add to that?
Good afternoon, John Travers, building official. The challenge that I have and that Anthony has here is what actually pertains to the Florida Building Code that I'm charged with enforcing and what may be part of a local ordinance or a county requirement. So in terms of what actions could we take, we already have a system set up under the current system that if they don't take those actions in the timelines that are provided, then we can issue code enforcement cases, take them before the special magistrate. If in fact the deficiencies are so egregious that it warrants further than that, then we have the Unsafe Structures Board, and we also have the ability of myself and the fire marshal to declare a portion of a building or the entire building as unsafe and order vacation of that.
So there's already in place a mechanism.
Yes, sir. There is in place, and we have used that occasionally, particularly in some of the cases we've looked at that I reported to you earlier this year that had to do with spalling of concrete in parking garages, issues around swimming pools and the various amenity decks of some of the things. So we do have a process by which we're already acting.
So what are these recommendations really doing if we already have these processes in place? I mean, is this you've been very good at this. I mean,
Yes,
you're
sir.
a leader in the area.
Yeah.
Pushing for enforcement and ensuring that our buildings are safe, more so than I see other communities. And so what are these recommendations actually adding to assist us other than to just talk about it?
All right. So as Anthony was reporting to you, there are some changes in the dates and the liability situations. And in reality, there are probably, of the 31 municipalities in Broward County, some municipalities that may not be as vigilant as we are at taking care of these kind of situations. So there's an effort here to bring some cohesiveness throughout the county and obviously throughout the state, because you'll see in his presentation where this is actually going to be presented to the state to look at as becoming part of a Florida building code throughout the entire state.
But if the legislature decides to sit on its hands because of lobbying efforts and things like that, that doesn't stop us from continuing to do the enforcement?
Absolutely, absolutely not, sir. As a matter of fact, the only thing that I had asked when we met before was that since the county is looking at this in a holistic way throughout the county, that we kind of abide by whatever the county decides, and that's exactly what Mayor Geller's meeting was all about, to try and come up with some consensus. And then finally, since Miami-Dade County and Broward County are the only two counties in the state that have any kind of a building safety program, that we would work in collaboration with Miami-Dade County to try and present a unified front in both counties in this case.
Okay, all right, thank you. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I just.
No worries.
This was important to me.
Yeah, and I think as we go through the presentation, there might be some additional information that might help answer that question. So the third recommendation is for building safety inspection program requirements. The first two bullets are for properties that are on a waterfront, and it's basically focused on the structural integrity of the seawall, ensuring that if there's overtopping, seepage or failure, that there's nothing there that could compromise the foundation of the building or impact it otherwise. Continuing from that, under the same recommendation, they've also added material testing for concrete core samples for degradation, and then a geotechnical analysis to assess structural or foundation issues. They're recommending on number 4 to amend Florida statutes to require that copies of the engineering report be distributed to all the unit owners within 30 days of receipt, and that the board must call a special meeting, even if nothing was found to be deficient, to discuss it. Number 5 is to require engineers file a copy of the report with the applicable local government. This may be a little redundant because they do this now. And to provide written notification to the condo association and the applicable local government of life safety issues observed. So the next is condominium reserves. And number 6 is to amend the Florida statutes to require the condo reserves include accounts for concrete restoration and structural issues. These are the most expensive items that you'd see on any of these reports probably. And that additional items with deferred maintenance or replacement costs exceeding the lower of $100,000 or 10% of the association's annual budget. So clearly trying to make sure that there are going to be funds available for the repairs as they're moving forward. Number 7 would require a reserve study of the funds every 36 months for the association, and that in order to waive the reserves or reduce them, the study has to be completed within 36 months, and they need a majority vote of 75%. Number 8 would require the most recent budget reserve study be provided to prospective purchasers, and number 9 is adjustments to the Realtor's form for the contract purchase to be amended to incorporate language from Florida statutes that disclosure be provided for condo sales where the funding of reserves has been waived or reduced by the association. Under insurance, there's only one recommendation under that heading, and it's split into 3 bullet points. So there's best efforts language written in the current state statutes, and the recommendation is to require insurance for these condo associations. And then require the insurance documents be filed with the Division of Florida Condominiums, Timeshares, and Mobile Homes of the Department of Business and Professional Regulation, otherwise referred to in the rest of the document as the division. And require that a copy of the notices of cancellations issued by the insurers or their agents to the condominium associations be filed to that division as well. Condominium association management, amend Florida statutes to require associations, including master associations, greater than 50 units or budgets of $100,000 or more to obtain the services of a community association manager licensed pursuant to Part 8 of Chapter 468, unless the majority of the board members have obtained the minimum continuing education requirements. Number 12 is to amend the statutes or the Florida Administrative Code or the Florida Administrative Code to increase the number of continuing education hours needed from 15 hours to 20 hours biannually to renew the community association management license, and that 1 hour be dedicated to building maintenance, 1 hour be dedicated to building inspections, and 1 hour be dedicated to reserves. Number 13 is to include an obligation for the community association managers to identify issues related to structural maintenance and integrity of the building and other life safety issues and report those findings to the association in writing. The last topic is education. amending Florida statutes to require newly elected or appointed condominium associated board members to complete an educational curriculum administered by the division, approved condominium education, the approved condominium education provider, apologies. And then require condominium association board members to complete educational curriculum every 2 years. Increase the current 2-hour educational curriculum to 3 hours with the additional hour related to building maintenance. 15, there's a $4 per unit fee that's collected, and the recommendation is that it remain used for educational purposes rather than pushed into the general fund of the association. Number 16, with the assistance of the Florida Condominium Ombudsman Office, increased the education for board members and unit owners related to duties and responsibilities, cost of ownership, maintenance, reserve funding, et cetera. And then the final recommendation is number 17, and that's basically that with the trim notices, there's a flyer or some information provided to the property owners so that they understand the benefits of continued maintenance. And those are the recommendations from that committee.
Anthony, could you just go back to 15 a second?
Yes.
Just want to point that one out, just so people know. This is very much like what happens with the Sadowski funds every year. Think about number 15. Think about how much money $4 per unit in all of the condominiums in the state adds up to, and then realize what happens when those funds are rated every year and not used for the purposes that they're intended. And that's a big issue, and that's why I'm a little skeptical about what will happen when much of this goes to the state, because right now, that's an absolute shame. When you think about all these years and all that money that could have been used to not just educate and assist condos, but actually maybe help with some of the financial aspects of if all these things were going to be implemented. But I just wanted to point that out to those of you that might not be aware that every single year, every condominium association collects that money from their own building and sends it to the state, and God only knows how it gets used after that. Just wanted to bring that to your attention.
And it should also be noted that out of these recommendations, there's only a handful of them to apply directly to the city in terms of our process. So the change of the interval, the timelines for providing notice and getting the report back, those types of things. A lot of this other stuff would be something that would be enforced through the division or some other agency.
Okay, Vice Mayor.
Yes, thank you. And I do see, Anthony, some of these, would this be a new county ordinance, I guess, or some of these are state statutes? So it's a
Some of these are
combination?
state statutes, so it's going to be, it's my understanding it would be a combination of county ordinance and state statute, because you do have to administer the Florida Building Code, which has the requirements for the 40-year inspection, and that's statutory.
Okay, and it's our responsibility as a city to enforce the ordinance from the county or the statute from the state?
Yes, so the
That's
way
how
it
it
works in a nutshell is we get a notice every year of the buildings that meet the criteria, and then we send out the notification, and that starts the process. And then so if we don't get a response, we start enforcement action.
Okay, so the feedback that I received from the GALT, just talking about this, and I don't know if they've received quite this entire PowerPoint, but we did discuss, they feel like the 40-year compliance or the 40-year inspection is adequate. They felt more like the problem was, the condos doing the work after the 40-year inspection, and I think that was some of the issues. So it's my understanding, and I can take it back to them, and I don't know what leverage we have. I mean, what happens next? Can we not do this if the county votes to enforce it? We don't have any.
If it makes it into state statute, then we'd be obligated to enforce it.
Right. Okay, so well, I don't know if it's going to be passed by the legislature, but if the county passes it, do we still have to, obviously we have to enforce it if the county passes it. So you're just giving us the information and we don't really have any standing in making this decision. Is that what I'm hearing?
It's my understanding that these recommendations have been packaged up and are ready to be transmitted to Tallahassee if they haven't been already.
Okay, and so if
We're not
Tallahassee,
invited to participate in the meetings, but I know John had been monitoring the meetings, and he was working directly with somebody who was on the board, I believe. So we provided input through that mechanism.
so if Tallahassee doesn't pass it, it could come back to the county. The county could still amend the current ordinance, and this could become the new ordinance.
Well,
You have to
what the
enforce.
recommendations you see here are recommended for the entire state.
Correct. Yeah, I see.
Tallahassee is going to respond to that. But yes, I mean, I guess there's a situation where you could possibly come back and recommendations could be amended.
Right. Well, currently it's just Broward and Dade that have this ordinance. The rest of the state doesn't. So I see the rest of the states trying to do it, but I'm just trying to understand current, us in our position. So let's say the state does nothing. The county could pass, at least the county part, they could change it to 30 years instead of 40 is my point. Right? They could make that change.
They could, yes.
And
Yeah.
then we would have to enforce it because we as a municipality, our responsibility is to enforce it and we are preempted by the county. Correct?
Vice Mayor, you are correct. The way that we enforce this building safety inspection program right now is actually part of the amended Florida Building Code. Broward County amends Chapter 1 of the Florida Building Code, and this is in Section 110.15. So, yes, if it fails at the state level, the county could come back and they could actually change 110.15 to these newer numbers, dates, and deadlines.
Okay. And some of the other categories, they wouldn't have any ability to change that were related to the state statute, but they could change the 40-year to 30. So anyways, from District 1, my understanding is that they feel like the 40-year inspection is adequate at this point, and the 30-year would just be an additional increase in an expense that the condos would have to take on. So that's it from me.
Yes, and to help everybody understand, where did this number 40 years come up with? When the program was originally initiated in Miami-Dade County back in the 70s, the consulting firm looked at all kinds of different dates to begin this process as a mandate, and they settled on 40 years. So that's why that number, it was kind of an arbitrary number that was decided amongst several people who were on the consulting group at that time in Miami-Dade County. And then in 2005, when Broward County started putting together the same program, we just chose to mirror some of those requirements to make it easier for us to get it into statute.
Sure, I understand. And also, when I was speaking with the GALT, we did have a consultant on the call, and they said, they are still investigating what caused the collapse of the Surfside building. So, we still don't know. So that report is still, coming maybe a year or two away. So they were also saying maybe we're making some changes. Maybe some of the changes are needed and some of them should be done statewide, but some of these changes we could be making before we really understand what the problem was with Surfside also.
Yes, you are correct. And just a reminder again to everybody that when the Champlain Towers was built in 1980, there was not a state program for certifying inspectors or plans examiners. That was done at the local levels. It wasn't until 1994, after Hurricane Andrew in 92, that the state took over the certification and the control and renewal certifications for inspectors and plans examiners.
Thank you.
We good? Okay, great. We have a couple people who signed up to speak. Adrian Dunn. Is Adrian here in the audience? Okay, she had signed up to speak. And Joanne Smith again. Joanne has signed up to speak on every item. Is she online?
I don't see her, Mayor.
We have a few Joanne Smiths.
Might be. This was on
One-
North Birch Road.
I have a feeling that would be for the Bayshore Hotel issue this evening, R2. She's the president of Birch Crest.
She signed up for the different meeting. Okay.
Yeah.
So we'll save that for later.
Okay,
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner, for clearing that up.
my pleasure.
Okay. Any further questions of Mr. Fajardo? All right. Thank you, Anthony. Business 2. This is the an update on the Fort Lauderdale Police Headquarters project.
AECom and staff are here to speak on that item. Mayor.
Wait, who's talking to me?
Tarlisha. I see you looking around. Hey,
I heard the voice of God.
AECom and staff are going to address the commission on that item for the update. They're here. AECom?
ACOM.
Yes.
They're here. Okay.
Yes. Bob, was you-
Welcome. Tell us what's happening. First of all, I want to thank you for the amount of time and effort that you've put in here, listening to the community, listening to members of this commission, and trying to bring to this community a new headquarters that, first of all, will service the police rank and file that are going to be working in this department and in this building, keeping it safe and keeping it functional and making it operational for decades to come. We're spending all this money not to redo it in 20 years. This is a legacy project for this community. So, I feel that, you look to it just in that way, and I want to thank you all for the effort that you put in to try to succeed in fulfilling that challenge. But go ahead. While you were flipping through your papers, I just wanted to make that statement.
I think he's queued us up, so that's good. Mayor, commissioners.
Please try to speak up.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm Bob Buscemi. I'm the project manager with the City of Fort Lauderdale. I'm going to start off the presentation and turn it over to AECOM. The purpose of today's presentation is really to provide an update on the project and our path moving forward on public outreach and engagement. Just a quick project overview of the building areas. It's a three-story structure. The headquarters building is 185,710 square feet total. That includes a City of Fort Lauderdale backup data center, which we're working very closely with the IT staff to ensure that that incorporates that correctly. We have a community center, which is 5,270 square feet, 5,270 square feet. It's actually, it's attached, but it's accessed independently. It will function independently of the headquarters building. And this way it has its own identity and could be used both by PD staff and the community. The parking garage is 211,000 roughly square feet. We have a training range, which is located on the second floor of the parking structure. That's about 11,000. And then we have a bridge that connects the headquarters building to the parking structure.
I didn't see the bridge and the parking garage in the backup, other than just a bird's eye view of the schematic. Would you have with you today a rendering and elevation of that bridge?
Do you have anything?
We do not, Mayor, but we can forward.
Could you, because originally when I saw that bridge, it just looked a little too exposed for police officers to have to walk that.
We've incorporated those comments. We made sure that we'd have proper screening and protection for the PD staff, personnel. Yep, absolutely. And the bridge was designed, the parking garage and the headquarters structures, they align, the floor plates align, so the bridges are all there, and we have a bridge connection at every level. So you could be able to connect to the building at each level of the building. Okay, with the parking, since we're talking about that, we have 358 spots, and then we have critical mobile asset parking areas for the larger vehicles, and motorcycle spaces, and that totals 94. And then we have surface parking of 58 spots, some of which are for public, and some of which are for OJ parking, other jurisdiction. I just wanted to give some recognition here to the design team, so everybody knows who's working on it. We have AECOM, and several members are here today, and they're going to be talking as well. And then the sub-consultants through AECOM are listed. The construction team who was awarded, it was Moss and Associates, and we're utilizing the construction management at risk delivery method on the project, which is really advantageous, because we were able to work with them and feed back and forth on building systems and alternate systems and budgeting. And furniture, right now, we're just working with procurement, and we're in the selection process right now to select a furniture consultant for the project. And the timing on that is just good. All right, the project status. We've completed concept and site discovery, which is where we develop the program and site analysis. We've completed schematic design, which is all your spatial layouts, floor plates, and elevations. We've completed the design development, where we've picked out all the building materials and systems. So that's where you pick out all your mechanical systems, electrical systems, plumbing systems. You go through the whole building, as well as all the building materials. So presently, we're in the construction document phase, which is commonly referred to as working drawings. Most people know it that way. We've also submitted all the site work, including landscape, to DRC for their review. We've received some comments from the DRC staff, and we've been addressing those comments. So that's going well. Challenges that we've been overcoming that are just out there in the industry that I just wanted to make everybody aware of. And I think now it's kind of common. We have rising cost of materials and labor. That's just something that we're battling with. Supply chain and shipping issues, which is really product availability. I just wanted the commission to know that we're really looking at each piece of building material, every element within the building, to really ascertain whether or not it's the right material. Can we get access to it? Is it a locally based product? We're trying to really push locally based labor here. So it is challenging, but we're really, I think we're making good progress on that front as well. We've completed a very extensive value analysis process, which I thought really was a good thing for the project as well. We've looked at every component of the building and priced out variations and how we should put it together. And in short, I will tell you, we have reconciled the overall project budget. So with all of these challenges, we're still working on it, but we have reconciled that budget, which is all within the bond limit amount. We've maintained all the public safety and mission critical program requirements. And I only mention this is because, you know, when you do a value analysis, sometimes people look at it and they start chopping things and taking things out of the building. We felt that, you know, it's a central facility, it's PD. We wanted to make sure that we maintained every aspect of this building that the police department really wants. So all the program, we have about 20% future growth built into the program. So as the department grows, so what we did was we increased each individual department within the program to accommodate that growth. Legal constraints, I just mentioned these because they're, again, we had an existing deed. We work with Alan's group very closely. They really helped us out quite a bit. Evidently, this building is back in the 1950s, and there's quite a bit of effort just to come back and find the deeds and get that all up to date. I guess I only mention that because we're really cleaning up the whole site. We're looking at it and just bringing it all up. Planning, zoning, everything is just being brought up to date. The other thing is some of the other site issues is we have some right-of-way that's on the site that's still mapped on the site, and we're going to be vacating that. And you'll probably see that in the future. We'll be bringing that back to the commission for a vacation of that. And we're proceeding with some land acquisition as well. On the regulatory approval side, I put this in because we do need some relief on a couple of elements within the design. We have some minor setback issue for the community center, some signage on Broward Boulevard, and some parking. So I just want to let the commission know that you'll probably be seeing that as we're going through the regulatory process. You'll see us come back and request some assistance there. And I'm going to turn it over now to Tim Blair, Managing Principal of AECOM, to go over the site plan and the project elevations, as well as the schedule and the community engagement portion.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Did you have a question? Go ahead.
You have some questions. Might be best for him, this gentleman rather than, is that all right?
You want it for this gentleman or for eight?
Yeah, I think for this. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, great. Thanks. Tell me your first name again.
It's Bob, but
Bob.
Robert. Yeah.
Okay, Robert. Great. Just a couple questions, and maybe this is best for you or someone else. we're working on a joint campus with Broward County. Soil analysis came back with some concerns. Soil analysis here, is everything looking fine?
Actually, it is. We did a complete soil analysis, and for both structural stability as well as environmental testing.
Okay.
And everything came out very clear.
Great. That's
Good.
great
So
news.
we'll be, just to give you some trivia here, to meet floodplain requirements, we're actually going to be raising the site up, the actual building
Yep.
pad, about 3.5 feet. And
Great.
that will get us out of all the floodplain issues that the site has. It is a very low site right now, and it does flood very frequently.
Right.
But as far as all the environmental test
Because there's
reports
fuel, we
and
have fuel containers.
Yep,
there,
I
so
was
that's
worried
all
about
good.
that from day
How
one.
deep did you go down?
Well, I can forward you the report and show you all the borings they took and samples. It'd
Okay.
probably be best just.
We,
to do
there were
that
some
way.
concerns 70 feet down at the joint government campus. So that's just why I
Oh.
asked. Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty deep. Okay, great, thanks. How are we doing in terms, and I know police department's all, the officers part of this, and feedback and there's good conversation and alignment?
Yeah, absolutely.
Great.
We meet with senior command on a regular basis. We have regular charrettes with them. We go through each individual process as we're going through. It's an iterative process. It keeps building on itself. And PD is extremely happy with everything we've been doing there. I do have a PD rep here today.
Great,
to Talk
yeah.
on it. But as far as I'm concerned, yes, we've addressed every issue
Awesome.
that we had, and their senior level command has been very happy with it.
Great, thanks. I'm assuming there'll be undergrounding of utilities around the site. Yep, getting ahead.
Yep.
Great, awesome.
Yeah. Actually, there's quite a bit on utilities. I'll just figure in the not only we're analyzing the existing
And the
utilities-
bunkers, Dan.
Yeah, we have
Exactly.
the existing.
Yeah.
the-
Mission bunker will be
That's
under.
right.
We have existing.
Secure facility.
You want a bunker? You could do that. We have existing utilities, and we're also trying to maintain the balance of the site. So some of the utilities fed through the PD building.
Yep.
And then fed into the other structures that are on that site. So when we're analyzing it, we're looking at when we demolish the existing PD building, how do we maintain services to those other buildings? As well
Okay.
as IT, we've been working with Andrew's group to ensure that we have redundancy of IT within the site. So if one connection goes down, he doesn't lose the entire site.
Okay.
It's-
Great. And then I'm sure you're working with like a security consultant on this, the blast zones, security, but you don't have to go into the specifics, but that's all going to be,
That's all in there. That
part of
was
this.
part of our original concept and site discovery phase. What we did was we had a whole analysis on site security.
yep,
And we looked at blast zones,
Right.
where we locate the building, how far back from the right-of-way.
yeah, that was my concern.
Yep.
Right, yep,
Yeah.
okay.
And then, all the protection within the building, protecting walls, glazing, lines of sight from the street.
Yep.
If you could see inside the building at night, do you see the officers where they are, how they're functioning? And
Great.
we went through a whole thing. We went through storm management. If there's a storm and they lose power, we have emergency generation on the site as well. But we went through every one of those, and we have a whole report on that as well. So I could always furnish that to you
Okay.
too.
Perfect. That's great. Thanks, Mayor. I just wanted to get those.
Mayor, may I ask a question?
Yeah, go right ahead.
Thank you. Thanks, Bob, and I appreciate the work everyone's done on this. I have a question. If you go back a slide or two, you had mentioned folks that you've been meeting with and concerns that came up and
Which one?
DRC. Have you had meetings with our historic preservation planner?
We have not filed officially with Historic Preservation, but we have met with her, and she has done preliminary review of this and has given us some preliminary comments. But
Okay.
again, we haven't formally.
The reason I ask that is this building is located within the historic district of Sailboat Bend. And our ordinances really do address a lot in terms of materials and design and guidelines. And so I have that concern. I actually do want to speak to Trish in a little bit, if I don't know when it's appropriate, maybe after this presentation. But typically, I know that when projects are considered for construction in Sailboat Bend, new design, new construction, there's a lot of heavy-duty meetings just because it's not going to work if we take too long and get to a point where we say, hey, this isn't following our ordinances and our design guidelines and everything else with regards. And I do have actually some concerns about that. So I do want to hear from Trish Logan on that as well, because I don't want to see us go too far down the road. I want to have a comfort level that we are meeting all of the ordinances and all of the design guidelines with regards to materials for construction. I want to make sure that everything is basically fitting all of the descriptions. I mean, it's a lot to mention. I'm not going to go through all of that right now. But in terms of materials and designs, there's everything that deals with walls and finishes and, types of materials. There's also additional guidelines with regards to new construction and what needs to go into that kind of design. So I just want to make sure that we're doing that from the start. I know that what we see in front of us now is not the original designs and proposals that we saw. I don't know if you have copies of that. I was wondering why that changed from the original. I actually believed that the original design that we first saw at our first presentation was more fitting in terms of the neighborhood and also in terms of the materials and also just in terms of the design because of the way that it paid homage to the original structure. So I have those concerns as well. I don't know, maybe you can explain to me why we went from that original design to this design, which to me doesn't look the same. The original was not in the backup, so I don't actually have it at my fingertips.
I can probably help out there because
Thanks.
I know that these folks asked for input from all the members of the commission as well as from the community, and I know that I made suggestions as to, while paying homage to the past, that we don't get stuck in the past and find ourselves building a building that looks like it needs to be torn down because of its tired look. So I think what they did was what looks like a really successful attempt to draw in elements of the architectural appeal of Sailboat Bend, while at the same time adding more modern and forward-thinking elements that will help create a more up-to-date design. So I don't think the original design we were actually married to it. I think it was just the first go around. So I'd like to thank them actually for coming up with a design that allows multiple ideas to come together and to come into a building that I think has been very successfully achieved. So I think that's really where it all came about.
Okay, that helps, but I still would like to have that discussion, and I definitely want to hear from Trish about our own design guidelines and all of the ordinances as they apply to Sailboat Bend, and then her thoughts on how this is working. And I just want to make sure that we are working hand in hand with that board, because, correct me if I'm wrong, this project will eventually have to go to the Historic Preservation Board for approval, correct?
That is correct.
So I just want to save any aggravation down the road, and I want to make sure we have
No,
that.
you don't want aggravation.
No, I want to make sure we have that excellent discussion as early as possible, so that this doesn't surprise us all with a problem at Historic Preservation Board when it gets there. I'm just thinking it's prudent to air all that out now and make sure that our HPB liaison is comfortable and secure and feels that we've met our ordinances and all of the design guidelines so that we don't have a problem later. That's all.
Commissioner Glassman, Tricia is available. Mayor, is it okay if she speaks briefly, or if she wants to address it, or would you like her to come back at a different time?
I think that the commissioner's comments are more holistic rather than specific right now. So I would hate to put her on the spot or the commissioner on the spot right now, because I think he's looking at a more holistic conversation regarding this project.
Okay.
Well, thank you, Mayor, for trying to summarize my thoughts, but I would like to maybe hear from.
Want her to
I would love to actually hear from her. Yes.
All right.
Thank you.
Well, all right, if she can.
If she can. It won't be long and it won't be difficult. And it's a lot better now than.
Are you on the line? Oh, you're right here.
She's right here, live and in person.
Okay.
Hi, good afternoon, Mayor and Commissioners. Tricia Logan, Historic Preservation Planner.
So what are your questions?
Well,
Did you have specific questions?
well, specifically, Trish, have you been working with these folks?
Yes, I've had several meetings with them, primarily preliminary in discussions. prior to the DRC application being submitted, but I haven't met with them after the DRC application has been submitted, and we haven't received a final application to the Historic Preservation Board for final review.
Have you had a chance to look at what we've looked at in terms of, I guess these are conceptual, although I'm not sure how much the site plan is solidified, but have you had a chance to take a look and anticipate if everything is going to be okay at the end of this process? In other words, you know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about all the design. I don't have to tell you what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about.
There are several criteria that we look at in any new construction project, as well as our design guidelines citywide. So that is something that I've preliminarily done. I haven't done a full assessment, but there are some positive aspects of the project as far as the setbacks that have been incorporated and the division of volumes that have been incorporated into the design to help break it up on the site. There are some concerns as far as the materials that are proposed, some of the fencing and some of the other elements in the package that don't necessarily meet our material and design guidelines. However, those are for consideration by the board when making a determination on a certificate of appropriateness. So they would be looking at the appropriateness for the immediate context in which this property is located, which it's on Broward Boulevard. It's a commercial site. So its immediate context is a little bit different than when you'd be looking at a new construction project within the context of a residential property.
Okay, and then also the sections that deal with the additional guidelines in terms of new construction, you're helping them understand what those are as well?
Yes, those would be applicable as well. We did ask the applicant to prepare responses for all of our criteria as part of their submittal to the Historic Preservation Board.
Okay, excellent. And then obviously, I just want to make sure, because I just want to avoid any kind of issue later on and any kind of debate or controversy. And because when I read through all of the ordinances and I see everything that deals with whether it's the roof, whether it's the appurtenances, the openings, the walls, materials, all of that, size, massing, as long as you're working really closely with them, that just gives me a comfort level. And I just really wanted to make sure that that was happening. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, no further questions?
I'm good.
Okay, any further questions?
Well, I did want to hear from police and just make sure that they are good with programmatically everything that's inside of the building. And as we're moving forward, I know when I go tour the new fire departments, I'm always impressed at the new, at the workout facilities. Do we have a space that our police can have a little PT also? And as we're building new, I don't know, that's important to me, your physical health.
I'm hoping we get some of that on the 8th floor, actually. Like
Well,
a PT
there's a treadmill
base,
up there. You haven't used
some
it yet?
equipment. We have some.
Commissioner throwing a Navy term out there, some PT.
It's all PT.
I like that.
I started
Go
out in
Navy.
the Navy. Yeah. Sure.
I just wanted to first thank the commission and the mayor for everyone's involvement and feedback. I just want to assure everybody that we've been lock and step every step of the way in this. I've actually been assigned to the project from before its inception with regards to trying to push the bond across. I've been attached to this team from the very beginning and receiving feedback throughout with our police department. Programmatically, that's the most important thing to us, that we have the needs that we feel that we need departmentally to be able to serve our city appropriately. And that was the most important thing to me, that I didn't want to see us lose anything that I felt that our department needs. And I think that that's definitively where we're at. And so I want to thank the team for that, because that's a massive challenge. Just to give you an idea, when they looked at it initially, it was supposed to be about 225,000 square feet, which unfortunately would have been out of our budget. They've been able to work tirelessly to get us within where we're at and to still maintain all of our programmatic needs. And I think that's really, really impressive what this team has done. And I'm just assuring you that I'm doing my best to work with the police department all throughout. My plea to this commission, I guess, at the end is let us keep moving forward, because anything that stops us at this point or moves us backwards really sends us backwards, where I feel for the men and women in our department right now, some are working without air conditioning as we're here. So, when you ask for what the police needs, I think that this building definitively provides it. And I just want to commend everybody that's been working on this project.
All right, great, thank you.
Good.
Did that
Thank
answer your
you.
question?
Yes,
There is a
there
nice
is a nice gym. I know. I thank you.
lockers and showers and.
Maybe we should do that
That's
at the
great.
Joint Government Center too. Right, yeah.
Yeah, it's great.
So good, thank you for that. And the EOC, is that going to stay at the executive airport, or does it move to the police, this new building?
Wait, say that again?
Emergency Operations Center, like during a hurricane and stuff? Will it stay? Isn't it currently at the executive airport?
Operation would stay there.
It'll stay where it is.
Is
It
it-
won't
Chris,
go
is it
to
going
the
to-
new
yeah, it's
police
gonna stay there,
station? It'll stay there. Okay, that's great. Thank you.
Yeah, Commissioner, the EOC, that'll maintain, but we are still going to have a command center within our department, which we maintain now for large-scale events and to keep an eye on things. I know the chief has a vision to move forward to utilize that space better and to keep a better eye on the city. And so that's part of, our IT and some of the things we're moving forward with departmentally.
All right, thank you.
Okay, AECom.
No pressure.
Let me ask you one other question about programmatic plans. Evidence storage on-site or somewhere else, or both on-site? Okay, and then I'm assuming there's no detention facility there, or yes or no?
Have we thought about resurrecting the idea of returning a jail to the city of Fort Lauderdale? I know it's a touchy subject, but it should never have really left us, but that was several commissions ago that decided that.
I can't speak for that particular mayor, but I can speak for, we're going to maintain similar to what we have now, where we have a facility to book individuals, to process them. Staffing has been up for debate that I've kind of been removed from, but that's definitely been taken into account. To keep in mind from the beginning, we have a lot of rental properties throughout the city, so there's a cost savings there because we're going to start bringing them back into the building, including that 10,000 square foot evidence warehouse. So, there are.
But I mean, that's just a holding facility. It's not a detention facility.
Correct.
We're not keeping someone in jail for 30 days there or something. It's just to book them so we don't go through the county jail.
Yeah, processing.
And there's no delay. It's just being done in-house.
Yes, sir.
Okay. What happens to the suspect once they're booked at our jail facility and they have not posted bond? Where would they go from there?
Well, we take them over to county jail, so that's never.
Is that a separate processing? Is that a separate process you have to go through to bring that person to the county facility?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
That takes up a lot of your time, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, it depends. It depends if I'll give you for instance, if an individual is combative, we're taking them directly there regardless, because that's not something we deal with at the station ourselves. But I don't know how that's not me.
Let's say a person's arrested for a DUI, and you book them at our facility, and they have not posted bond. Where do they stay there?
Yeah, I honestly can't speak for that, because once they're in BSO's custody, then that's for them to determine. But they stay at BSO's holding. We just process them, do all that, and get them over there.
All right, so they don't stay at our jail.
No, sir.
Would this new facility give us the opportunity to keep that person there until the arraignment?
That probably not. I
know I'm talking a lot of legal terms here, but
yeah. Luckily, yeah. I wouldn't be able to speak to that, but I would assume not, because we haven't looked at what it would take for that.
We wouldn't handle any part of those proceedings. All we do is process them from an arrest standpoint and then bring him to the county for processing. So posting bond, arraignments, all that, that's all taken at the county level. We wouldn't handle that at all.
But we charge and book them at our facility.
We process them, so we do some fingerprinting for our own and photographs and things of that sort, but all the detention capabilities and facilities are with the county.
So has the thought been entertained of trying to return some of that responsibility back to the city that we once had?
I have no idea what.
I want answers.
But I would say not, that we're simply always maintained as long as I've been with the department, and I think the goal is to continue to maintain what Alan said.
Okay. All right.
Hook 'em and get 'em out.
Does that answer your question, Ben?
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. And one other question, Mayor, in terms of fleet storage and fueling, What's the plan for that? Is that another location? Same on site? Fuel tanks? Like
As of right now, the plan is to stay on site.
for fueling and storage?
Yes,
Okay.
Mr. Commissioner.
Great, thanks.
You're welcome.
Okay. Now it's your turn.
Now it's my turn. Again, I'm Tim Blair, representing the AECOM team.
And please try to speak into the microphone. Either I'm deaf or it's a very soft microphone,
Can you hear me now?
or both.
Okay. Again, I'm Tim Blair, representing the AECOM team. Mayor, Commissioners, I'm very excited to share with you our progress and the evolution of the design. Commissioner Glassman, I'm going to speak specifically to some of the issues that you raised in terms of the development of the design. With respect to the site plan, just sort of refreshing ourselves, the project faces Broward Boulevard, front and center. The community center is intended to be a gateway to the city, as is the headquarters. We've worked very diligently from the schematic design phase to design development to really optimize the site area. We've actually reduced the development area to 8 acres, and I'll talk about that more. One of the advantages of that is that it's allowed us to delete multiple phases of the project, which saves time and money, and allows us to keep the police headquarters fully functional until the new police headquarters is completed. So the community center is a little tighter to the headquarters, but we've also created a nice access drive to the community center and for public access with secured access to the police department functions. The scale of the headquarters still steps back in terms of how it addresses the residential neighborhood, the adjacent residential neighborhoods. The actual massing and things that you saw from schematic design have not changed dramatically. We've just refined a lot of those elements. The parking garage expression matches the headquarters and screened by landscaping. And Mayor, to your point, we'll provide some additional elevations and drawings that show the bridge connection, the garage. Those were some of the initial comments from DRC, which we've addressed in terms of screening and fencing different items. And as we mentioned, there is a secured bridge from the parking garage to the headquarters. We've worked very closely in terms of the landscaping and the screening aspects along Broward Boulevard and specifically at the residential edges. The views that you saw in schematic design were bird's eye views. Bird's eye views are great. They tend to be very dynamic, but they can be a little deceptive. So we intentionally chose to utilize ground level views that really show how you would perceive the building, how you would engage the building, as opposed to looking down upon the building. So the evolution from schematic design to design development. We've validated a lot of the concepts that we tested in schematic design. We've refined the exterior expression. We've balanced the program, the budget, and we've optimized the construction sequencing once we brought Moss onto the team. I think we feel the community center is dynamic, welcoming, and we've made it accessible to the community. The headquarters intentionally projects toward Broward Boulevard and the community that it serves. It conveys stability and a respectful and timeless architectural style, and the impact is minimized at the residential edges. Another view along Broward Boulevard. Again, we have a formal and appropriate edge to Broward Boulevard. The headquarters has a strong presence, but it has a sense of transparency to the public, which we feel is important. What we've done at the ground plane is we've softened and we have more curvilinear edges for the landscaping to make the project inviting at the pedestrian scale. We have had informal meetings, as we mentioned, with the Historic Preservation Board. We will formally submit after we have DRC approval, and we will address all comments, concerns related to materiality and any other issues that come up with respect to the project. This is a view basically of sort of the public entry sequence and the interior courtyard that we have on level 2. We've worked very diligently for the public procession of the headquarters to incorporate extensive landscaping and undulating patterns in the paving that actually continue through the lobby. So there'll be a continuity between exterior and interior spaces. We've maintained what we had shown before, which was a 3-story interior courtyard light well. And we're showing here that it's reinforced with accent lighting. The secure terrace at level 2 will provide breakout space for the police department. And what you're seeing in these renderings, we're investigating some lighting concepts that accentuate the edges of the community center, the large cantilever of the headquarters, and the terrace. We want to see if we can do something which creates some movement similar to reflections of water. So that's something that we'll provide more detail as we develop that further. Project schedule. As Bob Dushumi mentioned, we're currently in construction documents to be completed by February of 2022 as we finalize the guaranteed maximum price with Moss. There have been schedule adjustments based on extensive collaboration to reconcile the budget to meet the bond funding. We have had some market conditions which have made it a little challenging. Again, we talked about optimizing the construction sequencing to a single phase while allowing the existing headquarters to remain fully functional until the new headquarters is complete. Anticipate GMP by June of next year, groundbreaking by August, garage completion by May of 23, headquarters completion January of 24, and final completion of the project in August of 24. As we started the meeting, a big part of the update that we wanted to provide to the mayor and the commission is the public outreach and engagement, which we've been doing in collaboration with the police department, public information officer, and Adams Consulting Group. This is an overview that we would propose as a path forward in terms of general public information outreach, in terms of a couple of strategies: attend virtual civic association meetings, attend virtual civic business association meetings, attend the police department citizen review board, and also the Fort Lauderdale Police Department community forum. Updates that in some of the tools that we want to provide to the commissioners are message for the commissioners to put in their respective newsletters, and presentation, virtual or in person, pre-commission meetings for both District 1 and District 3. That's the update that we wanted to provide today. I'm more than happy to address any questions.
Okay, great. Vice Mayor, do you have any additional questions?
No, thank you.
You're good? Okay, Commissioner Glassman
Nope, thank you.
and Commissioner Sorensen.
No, thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay.
All
Thank you
right,
very
well,
much.
keep up the good work, and we hope to have the ribbon cutting in, when did you say, in August of 24? Okay. All right, thank you so much.
Before we're done.
Right before the election.
Right before we're done.
All right. Okay, there's no further business. Now we'll just move on to city commission reports. So, Vice Mayor, do you have anything you'd like to report today?
Let's see, yes. Wanted to give a couple shout outs. District 1 aide, Melissa Coningsby, got married. Very lovely wedding. It was good being a date with you, Mayor. So, fun event. I hope you all saw the picture. She's a beautiful bride. We're missing her for this week as she's in Mexico. Also, this past week, I got to celebrate Emergency Nurses Day. I believe you also did that, Mayor, down here. I did it up at Imperial Point. We really appreciate our emergency room nurses and our fire department, everything they've done, especially during the COVID pandemic. I know they've definitely been stretched thin. Let's see. Looking forward to Saturday, Make a Difference Day. Guess you'll be at George English, Mayor?
Yes, I'll be there.
Okay, great. I'll be there with you. You're getting there around noon for
Yeah,
speaking?
I think that's when we're doing it.
You're arriving via kayak or paddleboard?
I'm probably not going to handle that this year. I'll probably just go to the ceremony.
You're just going to try? Okay, maybe Ben will paddle up from the south.
Parachute.
Parachute in. That'll be good. I know it is kind of happening citywide, so that'll be interesting. I'm glad they were able to pull that together. And looking forward to all the light up events. So hopefully you can also come, Mayor, to District 1 for Light Up the Galt. I know we missed it last year, and I know everyone's looking forward to getting back in person.
When is the Light Up the Gold?
Well, that's Thursday, November 18th.
Yeah, and it's a shame because the FDOT just changed their big meeting to deal with the bridges and tunnels and river onto that date, actually, that night, the same time. Just so you know.
Virtual, maybe, or do we as commissioners have a role in that, or it's really more for the public, or both?
Well, I don't know. I know it's public, but I'm not sure what role is. It's just too bad that it's the same night.
Okay,
We can probably handle both.
good, because we look forward to getting out again. So let's see, this week is Florida League of Cities Week, just to promote civic engagement. And I do want to pass out the Florida League of Cities Legislative Action Agenda. I don't know if you all got this yet, but I just want you to have a copy. And I guess, Jeff, I have to give you a copy too, for the record, just to see what we're talking about this year as we are lobbying. And I think Daphne sent information about Broward Days up in Tallahassee this year in the spring too during session. So obviously you'd probably piggyback and talk about some of these issues too. So I'll give them to you so you're prepared when you go to Broward Days in Tallahassee this year.
I think Broward Days in January, if I was reading the dates right, falls during one of our commission days.
Oh, it is?
Yeah, January. I think it's maybe the 18th or something, Vice Mayor.
That's happened in the past too.
Yeah, FYI. I mean,
Okay, well, Florida League of Cities is also hosting an action day up there, and it's in February, and it's not
Okay,
a
so
commission
that-
day.
yeah,
If
that
you all
could
want
work.
information, I think it's February.
What are the, hold on a second. What are the dates again for the Broward Days?
Broward Days. It's always been, they always schedule them on our commission days. It's been that way in the past also.
Well,
I think it was
we-
January
18th,
18 and 19. Yeah, and we have a commission meeting
That's a Tuesday.
January 18. Yep,
Did we already vote on our calendar, or are we doing that today again? We did vote on it? Or-
we voted
We are
on it.
voting on it tonight. I thought it was, well, okay. You can come to the Florida League of Cities one. Anyways, I'm going to pass out this legislative action agenda. It's 2 pages just to show you what we're talking about. That's it.
That's it?
That's it.
Okay. I don't think Commissioner McKenzie
Thank
is
you.
going to appear at our meeting today. I haven't heard from him, so.
Did we take attendance?
Glassman.
Do we do attendance in the afternoon? We don't do attendance in the afternoon, do we? Oh, okay. Thank you, Mayor. Busy couple of weeks, had a lively radio discussion. I wanted to thank Norm Kent for that opportunity. We talked about a ton of city issues on Wednesday, October 6th. Also that evening, attended the Victoria Park Civic Association meeting. Friday, October 8th, was the DDA Pulse on Downtown Fort Lauderdale. That's an excellent series. That evening, I had the pleasure of participating in the weekend kickoff of the Afro Pride weekend, and really nice kickoff party. And we redid the proclamation that we had done previously at the City Commission meeting. Really nice turnout at that event. Saturday, October 9th, International Swimming Hall of Fame Luncheon, and then also that evening, the 56th Annual Lifetime Achievement Awards. That was really such an incredibly well done event at the Marriott, and I got a chance to speak to a lot of folks from around the nation and even from some places outside of our country. Typically, they'll have a lot more international participation, but because of COVID and travel restrictions, not that many people travel from outside the United States to this event. But I just wanted to mention that there is really an incredible buzz in the aquatic world right now, in the aquatic community, both swimming and diving, for what they anticipate to happen here on that peninsula. Many of them did tour the site during the day, and just a real enthusiasm, and people are really excited about coming back and participating in all of the events. And just want to let you know that was really very nice and very encouraging to hear so many people really excited about that. Wednesday, October 13th, Solid Waste Working Group. We have an agenda item today on that, actually. Thursday, October 14th, had a really nice interview, actually, with FIU about the Aishaf Peninsula. That was for the South Florida Media Network. Also on the 14th, happy belated birthday, Mayor. That was your birthday, October 14th, right? 70
Yes.
now? 70?
14th. What is it?
70?
No, 80.
Oh, 80, okay. Nice. Well, happy.
Good for 80, Donna.
You do look good for 70, actually. Happy birthday to you, and hope it was a wonderful celebration. But we do know October 14th was your birthday. October.
Card is still in the mail.
Okay. Yes. No, actually, I didn't send one. October 19th, Central Beach Alliance had a special meeting. Was that just the other night, I guess, the 19th, to talk about some issues that we did defer till this evening. Yesterday, had a very interesting site visit on Mola Avenue. That's been a street, actually, I think it's technically classified an alley, that has been dealing with flooding issues for many, many, many years. And so we're working on trying to mitigate some of those issues. Also had the pleasure of attending with the Friends of Birch State Park yesterday. The brand new retro sign. There used to be a sign if you're traveling south on A1A and you're going to make that curve and head west on Sunrise. There used to be a really nice sign there that said Birch State Park with an arrow this way so you could make that entrance on Sunrise. Anyway, the sign has been restored, and we had that unveiling yesterday. That was very exciting. If you have not been to Birch State Park in a while, go. That Friends group has been an amazing Get It Done group, and the improvements in that park are really spectacular. So that was a really nice event yesterday. Flagler Village Civic Association also met last evening. Coming up Friday, I'll be going back to Birch State Park for the Florida Federal Gardens Club annual fall district meeting and program. There's going to be a presentation made about dune restoration on beaches and what other municipalities have done. So I'm going to participate in that and listen to some of that program because I think that might have some application for us as well. As was already mentioned, Saturdays Make a Difference Day. Also is that day the Winterfest launch party. Tuesday we have the South Middle River Civic Association meeting. Wednesday, October 27th, I cannot believe it, but is Global Business Luncheon for the Fort Lauderdale International Boat Show. That's exciting. That boat show's coming up, and I'm sure it will be very incredibly attended this year. And the 28th of October, the Central Beach will be meeting again. Saturday, October 30th, we have the Inter Miami final season match at Lockhart. Also that night is the History Makers 25th anniversary with the Historical Society. That's always a tremendous event as well. And then let's see, that's it. Then we meet again on the 2nd. And I just have one item I wanted to mention to the commission today. I wanted to find out, actually, I'm sorry, I should have mentioned October 31st, Halloween, Victoria Park Civic Association and Poinsettia Heights Neighborhood Mayor, Halloween block party. So get out from behind your fence, wear a costume, and really enjoy the block party in your neighborhood in Poinsettia Heights. I'm sure they'll be happy to see you.
Actually, I was at the Civic Association meeting last night.
Yes, I know.
We're not going, so it allowed me
Well, I couldn't go because sunshine and we couldn't talk about that issue.
Right, so I'm glad thank you for allowing me to participate. It was an excellent meeting regarding the playground at Sunrise Middle School, so anyway.
Okay, no, I understand.
Reconnect with my neighbors, even if it was virtually.
That's okay. It's if you have to do that, you have to do that. So I did want to bring up, we all did receive a letter from our city clerk, and I'm so sorry to see that Jeff is in that program where he has to transition away from the city. I just thought it might be good for us to have a conversation and figure out what it is we might want to do in terms of that position so that we're not caught right at the end thinking, oh my gosh, what are we going to do now? And then, have an interim or what are we doing? I just thought maybe we should have that conversation as a commission. That will be our charge, and I think that conversation happening sooner rather than later will benefit us as a city. So I just wanted to bring that up.
So let's bring it up. Should we make it an item on our conference room, on our conference agenda, to decide what procedure we're going to follow?
I think that would be a good idea.
So why don't we do that, Chris, on our next conference agenda?
Excellent. And that'll do it for me, Mayor. Thank you.
Okay, great. Commissioner Sorensen?
Thanks, Mayor. Great couple of weeks. Just want to highlight a few things. Had a Riverwalk block party October 8th, which was really fun, just fun activation on the south side of the river. It was a good time by all. Youth Leadership Broward was here October 14th, and we hosted them, and city staff led by Chris and Tarlisha and others just did an awesome job taking the high school juniors around the city and understanding city government and education. And Congressman Deutsch, the superintendent for Broward County, spoke as well. Commissioner McKenzie as well. So just a great, great day. Just thank you for all city staff helping support that. I guess coming up, we've got great day graduation today, which was great. It was the largest, Mayor, it was the largest cadet class ever in the history of City of Fort Lauderdale. So it was just great. It's great seeing our firefighters do awesome stuff. Scott, you're shaking your head. Okay. Oh, okay. That's what stand corrected.
Well,
Got a lot of positions to fill there.
They announced it was the biggest, but
the third
third biggest,
is good.
evidently.
That's still win, play, show.
One of the biggest, we'll say.
The biggest.
There you go. But that was just great. And also, I don't think I've kind of mentioned this, but new addition to our city team, Ryan Thomas, who's one of my team members now in City Hall. He was interned with me, and then he was with Neighborhood Support, did a lot of great work with homeless, the community court. So he's part of the team, which is great, having him on board. Want to touch base on Bahia Mar, as we've all been, engaging with the developers and the boat show. So I'm sure you all are doing this as well, but I talked with them individually the other day. Mayor, it seems like they're both ready to kind of move forward towards a workshop. I mean, I think
we're going to plan a workshop
or
for the commission to get an update as to these private meetings that we've been having.
Exactly.
I just met with one of the representatives yesterday to kind of get a heads up on where we were. I still am planning on having a meeting with Mr. Herbst and Mr. Boileau ahead of that workshop so we can fine tune some of my understanding on where things are. But no, hey, we need to get something done there.
Yeah,
And so we either make a decision one way or the other on what we're doing. And
is that something you'd want for like 11:30 on a commission day? Have its own work session, not on the conference agenda, right? You want your own workshop.
whatever y'all think is fine with
it's
me.
a workshop that I think we've kind of had public hearing on that right now. So it's just be a discussion amongst ourselves with a presentation by the applicant. So 11:30 would bring us to 1 o'clock. Does that give us enough time? Well, I guess it would.
1:30. We can go to 1:30.
Well, we need a break between meetings.
Yeah.
So
Mayor, I have one more. I don't have the date, but I have one more meeting scheduled with all those guys. So I'd just like to get that done.
do you have it scheduled?
Yeah, I don't know when that is, but it's going to be with the boat show and the tenant, as well as I requested city attorney and city auditor. So I don't know what Nancy's done with that yet, but
All right, so we'll do it maybe after your meeting.
correct. That's what I'm requesting.
Like
Thank you.
November 16th, is that enough time or?
Give you enough time?
Yeah. What today's?
Today's the 21st.
Yeah.
21?
Yes.
About a month.
Could we do
Yes.
something like that? And Chris, I don't know how this is done or the process, but just making sure that we can have,
When do we do CPRB? We scheduled a joint meeting with CPRB with the commissions. Let me check and make sure that doesn't conflict. 16th.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
would you? I guess I can look to the commission.
Who's that joint meeting with?
That's a joint meeting with the Citizen Police Review Board for November 16th, but it's in the same fashion as 11:30 leading into a 1:30. So we could go the first meeting in December.
Okay.
Or I could try to reschedule the Citizen Police Review Board if you think that the Bahia Mar is more timely and needs to be discussed quicker.
We can do a special workshop.
Can we do Citizens Police Review Board November 2nd instead of November 16th?
Well, it depends on them.
Right.
It's kind of short
Yeah,
notice. it's only 10 days.
Let's
That's
let's put the review board the 2nd, November 2nd,
Yeah,
and then the BHMR November
Well,
16th.
if it works for them, because we're only giving them like a week and a half notice, which is not fair to them.
Oh, they're very agile.
Giving them 12 days.
Very agile.
And they've already had it on their calendar for a long
Right.
time.
They'll
They
be-
know it's coming. They know
They'll
it's
very
coming.
eagerly.
That day,
Oh, it's like
we're just switching the day.
we're moving it earlier.
But we'll find
well,
out.
can we give them two options, the first
Sure.
week in November, or the first week in December?
There you go.
And then schedule Bahimar.
All right, so
And
we'll,
then-
we'll do the 16th for Bahia-Mar?
Yep.
Okay.
And then, Chris, I don't know how this works, but making sure, I think at the 16th, it'd be helpful to have boat show team there, the developers there, making sure that everyone can share and discuss openly, just making sure that all parties are here and all parties can talk.
We can invite. We can't make them talk, but
Sure.
we can invite.
Invite them. Yep, great. Well,
They'll talk.
well, invite them
Talk.
for tea and crumpets and a discussion. Okay, great. So thank you, that's Bahia. Let's see. Lockhart, just wanting to continue to move forward with Lockhart. Chris, do you want to just give us an update? I mean, I've been trying to touch base and see how that's going.
Yeah, I've talked to them a couple of times. They've brought back on board the architecture firm that they used early on, and I would anticipate that we will see something that resembles a proposed plan moving forward. I would think we'd have it in the next month or so. I mean, it's something that they internally meet on at least once a week, and they brief me on what they've discussed, and that's really what I know at this point.
Okay, great. That sounds good. So keep us updated on that. P3, 5 Ash. I know we're going through the evaluative process of Ernst & Young, evaluating the 4, I think, unsolicited proposals. Maybe we've done 1 and we have 3 left. Am I tracking that right? Or
Nope, that's not correct. So
Okay,
we have sent all 4 for the preliminary financial analysis. What's on the agenda tonight's meeting is for you all to consider approval of having us move forward with then a comparison analysis where they take the 4 and give us some way of determining what is in each one and how it compares to each other. So any of them in a vacuum tell a very different story than when you compare them side by side. So I anticipate when that is done, those results will come back to you in a shade meeting. We'll have a full discussion as to what decisions you all need to make with respect to the unsolicited proposals, and that'll go something along the lines of you either can reject all of them or you can rank them. But that would be coming, we're shooting for before Thanksgiving, so we're shooting for November. That could very well happen November 16th.
great. So if I'm tracking right, the kind of comparative analysis would be complete by November 16th?
That's what Susan's pushing to. Yep.
Great. Go Susan. Excellent. And the shade meeting, you're suggesting the shade meeting would also happen maybe November 16th?
I want to have this discussion with the commission prior to
Great.
Thanksgiving.
Okay. Excellent.
And we should be able to finally make a decision. They'll give us the results, and then we rank them, and then make a decision.
Excellent.
We're ready.
Yeah, I agree. I'm with you, Mayor. All right. That's awesome. Then this is a question maybe for commission and those of you who have more experience with this than I do, is naming of streets. So we've made some great work on naming. We're looking at, Reuben Stacy, that street's going to be renamed, and some others. I had an inquiry from the Dennison family, the yachting kind of. So my understanding, and historically, again, you all probably know this better than I do, but I mean, just some of the initial pillars of the yachting community here. So some of their initial yachting spaces were on Southwest 20th, which is where Lauderdale Marine Center is. So they've expressed an interest in looking at possibly renaming honorarily that street. So there's 2 ways to name streets that I'm aware, and Chris or Ben, correct me, but you can go through a kind of community petition where you have to get like 70% of those folks who live on that street renamed, or the commission, if the commission desires, the commission can make a resolution and rename honorarily, like we've done with Reuben Stacy. So I just want to get a sense of guidance around that. If there's interest in kind of exploring that, or what you all think.
does that work, the naming of a street?
I think the commissioner's right. We've done it a couple different ways. There's one way that's the most impactful to the street, but probably has the longest lasting impression, and that's to officially do it, but you have to get the buy-in. I think it's actually 80% of those that are affected, because you could
80%.
run into changes in the 911 system, you run into amending your address with the U.S. Postal Service. There's a lot that goes into that, so people have to be willing to take on that responsibility. The other way that we've done it, and we've seen examples around town, is the less official way, where the road remains with its number designation, but the future signage would indicate more of a honorary naming than an official naming. So that's the easiest, because nothing really changes other than the street signs change. But whatever their preference would be.
Sense to do a dual name.
It's a long road to get a lot of. I mean, I would think the lift is fairly heavy to get to the percentage required to do it the official right.
Get to 80%.
I might be wrong.
I
but
agree.
I think that's true.
Another street anyway, right? I mean,
Absolutely. I mean, so it's a 2-mile strip. The length is 2 miles. So yes, a portion, Mayor, absolutely could be done that way honorarily. So in other words, and Chris, just correct me if I'm wrong, but in other words, it would say Southwest 20th. Was it Ave there? I guess it's Ave.
Goes east-west, so it would be a street.
Southwest 20th Street. And then below that would have the naming of the Dennison family, for example, if we wanted to explore that. So if there's interest in exploring that, I'll work with the community, the neighborhood.
do that.
Just kind of see how it's
Proposal, yeah.
the possibility and feedback. Okay, great. Thanks.
Is that it?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, great. I have a few things since we have a little time. So a couple things that I have done. I had a chance to speak at the Fort Lauderdale Wilson Manors Oakland Park Chamber Luncheon, in which each city was allowed an opportunity to speak about their respective cities, things that are happening, things that are planned. It's a really well turned out event over at Hughes Catering in Oakland Park. I also participated on a panel with commercial real estate women. The chapter meeting was held October 13th. I sat on a panel with Mayor Lynn Stoner and Mayor Scott Singer from Boca Raton. Again, a nicely turned out event, and some great folks that we were able to interact with. Let's see. Tonight, we're going to have the opportunity to meet again with the Consul General from Germany, who I participated with on October 16th to introduce Oktoberfest to Fort Lauderdale over in Esplanade Park. And we clanged our steins of beer, which actually came from Dusselburg, and actually Duisburg, excuse me. And sorry.
Get that straight before tonight.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, sorry.
Ein Bier, bitte.
Yes, yes, exactly. Sorry. And in fact, the city of Duisburg has invited us to, their thing is not Oktoberfest, actually, in Germany. Their thing that they celebrate is Carnival, which, of course, is probably in the coldest month of the year in Germany, in February. But we have been invited to attend their Carnival event if we should do so. So pull out your woolies and.
Well, let us know how that goes.
I don't think there's a cruise ship that goes there, so.
Probably is.
You enjoy yourself.
Anyway, so this Saturday, as it was alluded to, the Winterfest Boat Parade Committee is inaugurating their season of activities with the White Party at the Marriott Harbor Beach Hotel. Begins at 7 p.m. Hope the community can attend that. It's really a great event, and I've attended it a number of years, and it's really quite fun. We're doing a ribbon cutting at River Oaks Stormwater Preserve on October 26th. Commissioner, are you going to be there in River Oaks?
Yeah, we'll be there. Thanks for mentioning it. Yeah, it's
9:30. Let's see. On October 26th is the Wings Wheels event that is put on at FXC at 5 p.m. It's all part of the boat show activities that are taking place. This exhibits the aeronautical opportunities people have to step into a Gulf Stream and see how the other half fly in this world. I remember going to a party once, and it was in New York, and somebody asked me this weird question: "Did you fly commercial or general aviation?" And I thought, "Wow, they're trying to like size you up whether you flew on a private jet or a commercial." Anyway, I said my plane was parked out and back. So the boat show kickoff lunch is at 11 o'clock on the 27th. That's at the South Beach Lady, docked at the Bahia Mar. Anyone interested from the commission who wants to come, please let us know. And on October 28th, the Marine Research Hub breakfast for the boat show, again at South Beach Lady, docked at the Bahia Mar. That's at 8 a.m. Also that day is the global business reception for the boat show on the same boat, and that's at 4:30 p.m. And then at 6 that same day is the F3 ribbon cutting, and that's at 1335 Southeast 16th Street. That's the big dock facility, right? That's huge. I drove by it the other day. So on October 28th, that same day, boy, I'm going to have a busy day that day. The boat show reception is hosted by the British consulate. So they'll be inviting the commission and others to attend. That's at 7 p.m. that night. The following day, on Friday, the Fort Lauderdale Concours Auto Show. That's going to be atop the new Las Olas garage. That's at 5 p.m. Some exotic and attractive vehicles will be on display. Bring your checkbook. And on October 30th, as was alluded to by Commissioner Glassman, I believe, the Inter-Miami, this is their fan appreciation match in which they will be competing against the New York team. That's at 3:30 at the Drive Pink Stadium. And then that same day, that evening, the Fort Lauderdale History Makers event honoring Marine Industries Association of South Florida and the Dennison family, 6:30 at the Super Yacht Village. So those are a few of the things that I'll be attending. I wish Commissioner McKenzie were here because I wanted to bring up, where are we on this leaf blowers thing? We assigned it to Commissioner McKenzie. He's indicated that staff was working on it. What's going on with our leaf blower investigation?
I think he's prepared to offer a report.
He's what?
I think he's prepared to report back.
When
So
is that going to happen?
I'll ask him if he's willing to do that at the next meeting.
Okay, all right, great.
Perfect, because the leaves will be falling soon, it's autumn, and that'll be just perfect.
Do we have any leaves?
Yeah. Perfect.
The falling palm frond.
Falling palm, yeah, they can hurt.
Perfect time for a leaf blower report.
Okay, is there any, Mr. City Manager, do you have a report?
Well, you all have covered just about everything, taken everything off of my list. I'll just mention to you, just because it hasn't come up, is that we are hosting, City of Fort Lauderdale is hosting the annual Emerge 2021 Professional Development Conference for the National Forum for Black Public Administrators. So we'll be hosting that in early November. So we'll be able to show off the city to other public administrators from around the United States.
What's the headquarter hotel for that?
Sonesta.
Nice.
Other than that, what I can report to you is that we'll have a court reporter here about 4 o'clock. We will reconvene on the 7th floor in the city attorney's conference room. The purpose of that, and then you'll have some things you'll need to read, is that we will be doing a shade meeting to discuss an unsolicited proposal. That'll be first, and then we'll have Alan's closed door meeting after that.
Okay, so we'll be adjourning this conference meeting right now. And what did you just hand to me? Oh, okay. We'll adjourn the conference meeting now. We'll have our shade meeting at 4, and then our executive closed door session at 4:30. And at that time, the city commission will meet privately to conduct discussions between the city manager, the city attorney, and the city commission relative to pending litigation pursuant to section 286.011, parens 8, Florida statutes in connection with the following matter: Mark Messina et al. Versus the city of Fort Lauderdale. Present at that meeting will be myself, Vice Mayor Heather Moraitis, Commissioner Steve Glassman, hopefully Commissioner Robert McKenzie. Oh, you came? Okay, great. Commissioner Ben Sorensen, City Manager Chris Lagerbloom, City Attorney Alan Boileau, Outside Counsel Michael Burke, from Johnson and Selmo, and certified court reporter from Daughters Court Reporting. The estimated length of this attorney-client session will be approximately 20 minutes. Meeting adjourned. Thank you.